What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Blazers Uprise Postgame show here on a Sunday afternoon. The Blazers went into Cleveland to take on the 49-10 Cleveland Cavaliers and almost beat them. The Blazers and the Cavs go to overtime on a day that saw Cleveland without Donovan Mitchell, and the Cavs made more plays down the stretch behind 32 points from DeAndre Hunter and 25 points from Ty Jerome. The Cavs beat the Blazers 133-129. The Blazers fall to 27-34 on the season as they continue their long East Coast road trip, and they start a tough month of March on the schedule. And this was maybe the toughest game of the month on the schedule. The Cavs now 50-10 on the season, but were without Donovan Mitchell, and the Blazers controlled most of this game. They were up 18 points at one point against the Cavs, but you knew the Cavs were going to make a run. There's a reason why they are 50-10, and that's because even in games where they're down big, they make runs. I mean, their previous game, they were down 25-3 against the Boston Celtics and came back and won that game. The Cavs get the win. The Blazers get a 30-point triple-double by Deni Avdija, his first triple-double of his career. But the Blazers just could not make enough plays down the stretch. This was a game with a lot in it. Of course, the Blazers went into this game without DeAndre Ayton, without Jeremy Grant, without Robert Williams. They're, three elder statesmen at this point? Outside of Uprise, I think, Uprise, like 28. Uprise actually got some minutes in this game. Actually played decently solid. But the Blazers, without their vets, still were very competitive, played a good basketball game today, and could not get the win. Eric, what's going on, man? How's your Sunday and your weekend treating you? Are you muted? Whoops. Lazy Sunday. All right. Apologies. Start over.
This game was crazy. Had everything. Fun to watch. There's so many plays that could have impacted the final buzzer. And normally we'd have, one or two key plays that we'd talk about or break down what happened on, but feels like there was like 15 of those in this game. I don't even know if we can remember all of them. There were so many between both the fourth quarter and overtime. So, but overall, you can hold your head high. I think if you're a Blazer fan or player or whatever, they played pretty well, just didn't get the win.
Yeah, this kind of feels like a game they should have won, man, but It's like good teams make plays down the stretch. This postgame is going to be a memory challenge for us because watching this game, it's like, oh, I want to talk about this, I want to talk about this, I want to talk about this. I need to start taking notes, I guess, or at least I should have taken notes for this game because there's just so much that went on in this game. The Cavaliers pick up 3 technicals. Deni shoots 13 free throws, makes all 13 of them, which is beautiful. He made every winning play down the stretch, it felt like, except for a couple of bad turnovers, which kind of cost the Blazers. But, I mean, outside of those turnovers and then barely missing a step-back 3 to take the lead there in overtime, he was basically perfect in this game, right? Phenomenal game from him, a great game from him. The Blazers just could not make enough plays. The Cavs got a ton of offensive rebounds. Only 13. It felt like a little bit more. It was funny because they were shooting very poorly from the field, and the Blazers were scorching. But the Cavs got hot there in the second half. DeAndre Hunter made some threes. And there's a lot of narratives coming out of this game. There's a lot of good narratives. There's a couple critiques that I want to bring up from this game. Chat, let me know what your thoughts are. I'll kind of read off some of those comments first, and then I'll get into some of my own thoughts, because right now, honestly, I don't even really know where to start. You had Donovan Clingan foul out in 11 minutes. That conversation is going to be super quick. Let's just, little appetizer, Eric. Let's just start with Clingan. Then we'll talk about some plays down the stretch. Then we'll talk about some other things. Let's just get Clingan out of the way. I think I tweeted this out. I think the biggest thing for Klingan's development is going to get refs to respect him, because he gets called for some of the crappiest ticky-tack stuff, and I think it's just the rookie whistle that we've seen other rookies get, and I just can't wait until the refs give him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, because that fifth, I think it was his fifth foul on Evan Mobley, I thought was ridiculous, dude. Like, barely any contact, soft league, all that stuff. He fouls out in 6 minutes, or he fouls out in 11 minutes. He struggles with fouls, but also he doesn't get the benefit of the whistle. Whereas somebody like a Rudy Gobert, or somebody with a little bit more of a defensive reputation that hopefully Clingan will build one day, they get much more of the benefit of the doubt. And even they will pick up fouls, but they're not fouling out in 11 minutes because they're not getting called for every freaking ticky-tack stuff. So there's definitely some plays that Clingan needs to do a better job not fouling on, for sure. But also, I just think he kind of gets a raw deal sometimes with that rookie whistle.
Yeah, he is kind of like sliding or moving his body like towards the offensive player, though, a lot of the times.
That fifth one on Mobley, is that what you feel like he did? Because I feel like I see rim protectors do that all the time, and don't get called for that. Like, that there was barely any contact there.
Right. I mean, I can't remember if it was the fifth one or a sixth one, but like, I feel like he's just kind of like, if he's just stationary and straight up or jumping vertically, I don't think he gets called for a lot of those. I think he's just I just don't think he's going to get the benefit of the doubt being a rookie plus sliding into the defender a little bit. So you just got to clean that up a little bit. But yeah, it's not like, we've seen bigs with foul trouble and plaguing like their early careers and stuff. I'm not really worried about it with him. I think he'll figure it out. It's just, I don't know. It's just kind of frustrating. Comes in, gets a foul right away, has to sit out in the second half. Comes back in, gets his fifth foul right away. Comes back in, gets his sixth foul right away. Like, it just can't get into a rhythm that way. So you just got to do a better job of knowing the situation and knowing that we're down a couple centers right now. We need him out there. Kind of need to sometimes let it go. Like, if it's a close play, not give up an easy land, but you don't have to contest quite as hard on some of those if you're getting called for these ticky-tack fouls,
Yeah, I think his presence is so important that sometimes he has to let some stuff go, you know what I mean? But his mindset is to try and stop every single drive, every single play, and that's part of what hurts him on a lot of nights in terms of picking up fouls. But so that's something to learn. I just want to get that out of the way real quick. I don't want to spend too long on it, but yeah. Well, I do think sometimes he does get a very crappy whistle.
Well, Shaheen in chat says we got a lot of calls too.
As a team, the Blazers definitely got a lot of calls. I thought it changed once the Cavs picked up 3 technicals. All of a sudden, they started getting every call after that. It felt like before that, it was like, wow, this might be the friendliest whistle the Blazers have gotten all season long, outside of a Clingan player too. I'm not trying to start this post-game complaining about the refs, but
this is specifically about Clingan fouls. But we got some calls, whether it was a couple foul calls or there was an out of bounds that was clearly off us late in the fourth quarter that we got, and Cleveland foolishly used up almost all their timeouts and challenges early in that third quarter. So that's not the refs or the Blazers' fault that they did that. So, it's we definitely got some favorable calls in this one, but we're just talking specifically about Clingan's propensity to foul lately.
Yeah. So with Clingan having a lot of foul trouble, that kind of sets the stage, all right? I want to kind of run through the second half here is what I want to do. And you had a lot of I thought Jabari played a little bit more. 8 minutes for Jabari, 21 for Uprise. When Jabari Walker was in the game as the small ball center, the Blazers could not rebound to save their life. And the thing is, they didn't even get outscored with Jabari at center. Jabari was a +1, right? But there was a couple of possessions where the Blazers gave up multiple offensive rebounds with Jabari in as that small ball center. It just wasn't ideal. The rebounding was a little better with Uprise on the floor. He played 21 minutes in this game, 7 points, 5 boards, was 2 for 5 from the field, 1 for 4 from 3. It would have been nice for him to hit an open 3 he had there late. Like, he actually got some crunch time minutes in this game, which was interesting to see. I think the first time all season he's gotten crunch time minutes. And the center situation was interesting in this game with Clingan barely playing due to foul trouble. Of course, the Blazers without Aiden, the Blazers without Robert Williams. I think if they had Robert Williams, they might win this game. Robert Williams would have been very beneficial in a game like this. But of course, also, you can't make that excuse. The Cavs were without Donovan Mitchell, right? So the Blazers were missing some guys. The Cavs were missing a bona fide star, right? So just to set the stage for the second half, it was interesting because the Blazers went into the half up by 12. And then the third quarter was a super high-scoring third quarter. The fourth quarter, the Blazers gave up 40 points. The third quarter, the Blazers gave up 37 points. So they gave up 77 points in the second half. Yeah. 77 points. And the funny thing is they started the third quarter containing the Cavs offensively. And then the Cavs had a flurry. And it was like all the Cavs scoring, it felt like, was in flurries. It wasn't consistent. Because I look at that third quarter, 37 points, but it feels like it all kind of happened at once. And like for at least half the quarter, or the better half of the quarter, the Blazers were doing a decent job defensively. It's just this team can get hot. They have a lot of shooting. DeAndre Hunter, Sam Merrill off the bench. Ty Jerome might be one of the top 5 most underrated players in the league this year. He's been phenomenal. He should be in most improved talks for a reason, and it's going to be interesting to see him in free agency. I think he deserves to start somewhere. And he had 25, 6, and 6. He's been huge in games this year and was especially beneficial since the Cavs didn't have Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland. Struggled in this game, was 4 for 16, Toumani effect or whatever you want to call that. But they made 19 threes on 41% shooting, and they did not start off this game shooting well. Dean Wade made a 3. It's just a collection of guys. Max Strus got hot there late. Just a collection of guys that made threes, made the Blazers pay. Also, free throw battle in this game. Blazers made 31 of their 35 free throws. The Cavs made 30 of their 35 free throws, so even number of free throw attempts. I think that's interesting.
Hunter also had several key 3-pointers in the second half and overtime, so he killed us too in the second half.
And a lot of it was like, wasn't even bad defense. I thought the Blazers did a really good job rotating in this game for the most part. It was just the ball's faster than a man, and sometimes you can't rotate fast enough. And there was a couple of threes where I thought the Blazers rotated about as well as you could ask them to rotate, Eric, and got good contests, and they still made a couple shots, right? And that's why they are so good, At some point, it's like, yeah, you can give credit to a team that's now 50-10 for a reason, right? It's because they really know how to pass the ball. They really know how to move the ball. And they got big men that a lot of times you have to send help to, and then those big men know how to spray the ball out to shooters, and even if you rotate perfectly, you're not just going to block every three-point shot. They're going to get shots up, and if you're trying to block every three-point shot, they're just going to attack your closeouts and get you caught in even tougher rotations. So I thought defensively, even though the Blazers give up 133, even though the Blazers give up 119 in regulation, I thought this was one of the best defensive road games the Blazers have played all season long, especially considering they played Delano Banton 17 minutes. I thought defensively he was brutal. They played Uprise and Jabari Walker a combined 29 minutes at the center position. Right? It's not like you had much defensive help at your center position. I thought Camara, Avdija, their defense was phenomenal, and they were a +10 and a +7. The Blazers, with those two on the floor, were better than the Cavs today. The problems came when you had Chris Murray in the game. He was a -15 in 10 minutes. When you had Delano Banton in the game, he was a -13 in 17 minutes. The Blazers lost their lead that they had controlled through this entire game. It started at the end of the third Ty Jerome hit a buzzer beater at the end of the third to cut the lead to 10, and then it continued in the fourth. I was really surprised by how long Chauncey stuck with Banton and Murray. But then again, you look at the minutes played in regulation. Avdija was 37, Camara was 38, right? Simons was 37. I just thought, maybe you could have found a way to get Scoot a few more minutes there instead of Banton down the stretch, because Scoot was a +8 in this game. It just seemed like the Blazers, when they were able to have Camara, Avdija, Scoot in the game, did well. The bench lineup really struggled. Their bench outplayed ours, and you had 25 from Jerome, 9 points off 3 big threes from Sam Merrill, right? Those two guys really got it going, and Banton really struggled defensively, and I was surprised how long they went with Banton. They didn't sub Scoot back into the game until like 3.5 minutes left, which I thought was kind of ridiculous. There was a lot of thoughts I had on this game in terms of some of the substitution patterns, even going to the last offensive possession with 30 seconds left. We'll talk about that in a second, Eric, like that inbounds play and all that in overtime. But what do you think of the substitutions down the stretch in that fourth quarter and that second half? Because, I mean, you got to play some of these guys considering you're shorthanded. I kind of wish they went to Scoot a little bit earlier. I was surprised how long of a leash he had for Banton. And then there was a stretch there where Sharpe was in the game, and Sharpe ended up playing 6 more minutes than Scoot, but I thought Scoot was better. I thought Sharpe was kind of brutal. And we can get into that too with one of his defensive possessions late. But just what do you think of the substitution patterns? And then we can get into some of these players and some of the individual plays that happened.
Well, the substitution patterns were weird. Sharpe actually sat a really long time in the fourth too. I mean, the only thing I can think of is, we hear so much on the broadcast, the Blazers ones, about fourth quarter Banton and stuff. Like, Chauncey's just waiting for him to get going. But, like, I felt like this game needed something different. And then Scoot came back in, so you had Scoot and Ant out there. But then Sharpe only came back in because Clingan fouled out.
Yeah.
So, it was another one of those games where he might not come back into the game if not for that. It's just kind of weird, but I mean, we are short-handed right now, so we have several players that probably wouldn't be playing in a normal rotation if we're trying to be a good team without the injuries. So I don't know if I necessarily had a huge problem with it. I guess overtime helps a lot to say, like, someone like Scoot gets minutes anyway, but it's tough, man. I don't know when Clingan comes right in and fouls right away and you have to take him out again. I don't really know how to balance that.
Yeah,
better.
I just think it's like you go to overtime and you're really trying to win this game and you have a lead in this game, like Sharpe should have played more than 34 minutes in regulation, right? Because he played the whole overtime, and Scoot should have played more than 33 minutes in the entire game, right? Like it's funny because when the Blazers are healthier, it's like, why are you playing Jeremy Grant 39 minutes and like Scoot 21 off the bench, right? But in a situation like this, it's like, all right, I kind of wish they played Scoot and Sharpe a little bit more, cut Banton's minutes, cut Chris Murray's minutes. He was brutal in this game because I think they would have won. I think they would have won this game if they had a little bit of a shorter leash with those two guys off the bench. Because Banton, he had 7 points, he was 35 from the field. His defense, man, like they were picking on him. They were picking on him defensively. There's a reason he was a -13. And he's just not a good defensive player. And then Chris smoked a wide open layup, missed a 3. Chris struggles against big athletic teams, or just teams with a lot of size that like guys that can move around, because I feel like he gets a little too sped up, and he's kind of a slower, methodical player, and he didn't really have an impact in this game at all, unfortunately. So it's tough considering you didn't have that good of a bench in this game, but I mean, you should probably... Scoot, I thought, had a good game, man. 6 assists, 1 turnover, 15 points, 5 for 12 from the field, 3 for 5 from 3. Like, this is the type of game in overtime where Scoot should be getting 36, 37, 38 minutes instead of 33. And yeah, that seems like a small thing, but in a game that went to overtime and was basically came down to a single possession, that matters. So, it's a little nitpicky, but I do remember, there was a point in this game where I'm like, man, where is Scoot? Why is Scoot not in the game? He's played good. He's gotten a little bit of rest there in the fourth quarter. Why is he not in the game? And then he finally gets subbed in with 3.5 minutes left. I thought Chauncey should have went to him earlier.
Yeah, I agree. Especially there was a time where, Anthony and Deni were both trying, but they weren't really getting much. Like, Cleveland had adjusted their defense a little bit to slow those guys down, so they weren't scoring as, or at least Deni wasn't as easy as he was earlier in the game. But then, yeah, I felt like that would have been a good Scoot game, and he was great in the second quarter when we went on that run, and kind of reclaimed the game at that point. Because it looked early in the second quarter like Cleveland was kind of in a funk, but then they were pulling out of it and were gonna put their foot on the gas and play like they actually play. But like Scoot really played well in that second quarter and really did a lot of things well. And then, yeah, like you said, just I don't know. Can never quite get those rotations down right. And I do feel like that's been happening a lot. And, it's tough, though, because Mobley fouled out, which actually saved us, I think, from because we can't really go small. I know we tried to do, and that's what the problem with Banton playing is he always plays with like Scoot and Anthony or Shaedon Sharpe or something. So we're really small. And there's times where he's playing with all three of them and then he's playing the four basically. And we just, no matter what you think of Banton, it's just, you can't win a lot of games playing four guards, let alone three sometimes. So it sucks that he plays a position that we don't have an injury or whatever to right now, or not necessarily sucks, but it sucks for him that he probably shouldn't be getting as much of this opportunity. Those should be going to our main guys. But like you said, they all end up playing a ton of minutes with the overtime. So I don't know. It's tough to really harp on the rotations too much, I guess, outside of Scoot not playing in the fourth.
No, for sure. I try not to harp on rotations unless in the course of a game I'm like, why is this the rotation, right? Because it's easy to say here in hindsight after they lose a game, a single possession game, be like, yeah, you should have subbed this guy in 2 minutes earlier, right? Really easy to do that. But in the course of the game, if it's something that kind of sticks out to me as weird, that's when I'll come here on the postgame show and say in the course of the game, I didn't really think this made sense. And yeah, in hindsight, Blazers might have won the game. Of course, if they won the game, I don't know. I probably still would have talked about it, but, it doesn't really matter as much. If you win the game, you win the game. But, man, I don't even, there's so many plays that I feel like we're going to forget on this post game, right? So, I want to start off with Sharpe, okay? We'll get into, very positive performances, but Sharpe kind of struggled today, okay? And I saw somebody saying, Sharpe's the reason we were in overtime. I mean, he was also the reason he had a lot of bad plays in the second half that allowed Cleveland to get back into this game. I was disappointed with him in the second half. He had 2 great hustle putbacks, man, and he can be a real threat on the offensive glass. Sometimes I wish he'd crash a little bit more, and he had 2 offensive putbacks. Also, a putback at the end where Simons got that foul, where if they didn't call that foul, the fans were booing, but if they didn't call that foul, Sharpe had a putback with basically at the buzzer to send it to overtime that didn't count. So, really like the way he crashed the offensive glass, but he could not buy a bucket otherwise down the stretch in this game. Really, really struggled. He got a clutch steal. With in overtime and missed the layup in transition, missed a couple open-ish threes. But the stuff that really bothers me is just some of the defensive lapses, Eric. And this is why he was benched. And now he's back in the starting lineup. I think on some possessions, his defensive intensity is better. Like, he had a couple times where he rotated really well in this game, was kind of flying around defensively, which is good to see, okay? He's not going to be perfect, all right? You're just trying to build him up defensively, develop him defensively. He's 21. But he had maybe the most inexcusable defensive lapse of the season of any Blazer. And it was brutal. So the Cavs get the ball with 31 seconds left after Shaedon Sharpe makes a tip back. 31 seconds left. So 7-second differential between game and shot clock, tie game. Not enough time for the Cavs to go for a 2-for-1. So if you're the Blazers, if you get a defensive stop, you get the last shot in regulation to win it. Which I love it when the Blazers are in those situations, because it's either game winner or you're going to overtime. Those are fun situations to be in. Mm-hmm. So the Cavs walk the ball up. Shaedon Sharpe's guarding Max Strus. Max Strus goes to the near side corner. If you're watching the broadcast, the near side corner, the Cavs going right to left, and Shaedon Sharpe's guarding him. Shaedon Sharpe starts staring at the ball. Max Strus cuts behind him all the way to the opposite far side corner. I think he was like in the far side corner before Sharpe even realized he had moved, and Sharpe gave up a wide open three where he completely fell asleep and lost track of him for like 3 entire seconds and gave up a wide open three to Max Strus to make it 118-115. Now the Blazers were able to force overtime after that. So they were able to come back from it. But, Eric, that was maybe the most inexcusable defensive lapse. And that's why Chauncey's been hard on Shaedon, is because of those types of mistakes. I don't understand how, with 20 seconds left in a tie game, how you zone out that badly.
Yeah, and then I didn't like after the play, he was looking around like it was someone else's fault or something.
Yeah.
So when I saw the replay, I was like, "What, did he get screened by his own guy or something? Or like, was there a screen and then they didn't switch properly out of it, and he thought there was a switch happening or something?" But no, it just showed him standing there, not even realizing that Strus had gone from one corner to the complete opposite corner before he even realized it. And he was almost athletic enough to still get there in time, but. You mentioned earlier that you thought the rotations were good in this game, and I agree with that. The problem is all it takes is one person to fall asleep, and it ruins all the good rotations you have made on a possession, all the good defense you have played. One person falls asleep, and all of a sudden, wide open three, bam. You can't have a guy fall asleep that bad. And we mentioned how he didn't come back into the game until Clingan got his sixth foul and fouled out. The first possession off a made basket, first defensive possession, Sharpe was supposed to be guarding DeAndre Hunter, didn't get back on him. Scoot had to hustle to get back and end up fouling him. But Scoot, you can see it if you watch the replay, he immediately turns to Sharpe and is like, what the heck? We've talked about this earlier in the season and all last year about how our battered transition defense was. So, yeah, just those two plays, not getting back on defense on one end when you come into the game, you should know immediately who you're supposed to be guarding. And then that play with DeAndre Hunter. So it kind of washes out any progress you're making when you make those bad plays in the clutch. So hopefully he can learn from these and just be a little bit more focused on the defensive end. Because, despite him not having the greatest shooting game or anything, we could have still maybe said it was a decent game from him if he – this is the problem. You've got to bring it every night on the defensive end, though. Yeah. And you can't have those plays that ultimately might have cost us this game or a win.
They started picking on him halfway through that third quarter. It was not good.
It was kind of off ball, though.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I'm watching back plays in this third quarter, man. They were going at him. Ty Jerome, um, had a layup on him where he just kind of drove right at him, and it was an easy bucket for Jerome. There's the play where he kind of fell asleep off ball for a split second and let Max Strus come off a handoff, and Sharpe was nowhere close. There was a couple of times where he left DeAndre Hunter wide open for three when DeAndre Hunter was already cooking us. It's like, in that transition play you're talking about, it's like, this dude's good. This dude's getting rolling. How are you falling asleep? Like, there was a play where it wasn't his help side responsibility. It was the baseline guys, and he was guarding Hunter up on the wing, and he just completely left Hunter to go into the paint when it wasn't his help side responsibility. He's supposed to stay there and take the first pass out and stay close enough to his guy that if they spray it out to Hunter in that situation, free throw line extended, he can get out and make that a tough shot. And he's just like walking into the paint as somebody's driving, and then the ball gets swung out to Hunter, and it's a wide open three. So it's those sort of mistakes. That's why Chauncey took him out of the starting lineup. That's why Chauncey's been hard on him. And there was multiple defensive possessions where Sharpe either just got hunted and like drove right at or fell asleep off the ball. And it was really, really bad. And it was really frustrating because it felt like the rest of this team was playing good defense. And to your point, Eric, you can have four guys play great defense on a possession and still give up a bucket because a fifth guy doesn't. A fifth guy falls asleep, or a fifth guy doesn't rotate and the offense swings the ball where everybody else is busting their ass. Everybody else is flying out on shooters and not letting them get shots up. But if they swing the ball and you're stuck in rotation and one guy doesn't rotate, okay, boom, there's a wide open three. And Cleveland's the type of team that'll make those wide open threes. This is why Sharpe has to become better defensively. This is why he has to become more locked in. I don't know how he does it. I don't know how exactly a coach is supposed to get through to him in some of these situations, because it's like Chauncey's tried benching him. Chauncey's been hard on him. But it's starting to become a situation where, like, if you look at this long-term starting lineup, who knows who we draft or what moves we make, but we've talked about the core. Scoot, Sharpe, Toumani, Deni, and Clingan. Sharpe's going to be the guy they target. Sharpe's going to be the guy where, okay, this guy will fall asleep. If he's guarding a shooter, that shooter can get open. It doesn't matter if it's a tie game, 20 seconds left, run that shooter baseline, and Sharpe doesn't know where he is for 3 whole seconds, right? Or just run down the court in transition, and Sharpe doesn't guard him. And those are just 2 of many, many bad defensive possessions from him in this game. His defense was absolutely brutal. Offensively, he was 7 for 20. He struggled making shots. You're going to have games where you don't really make shots, right? I'm not going to sit here and criticize Shaedon Sharpe for going 7 for 20. I thought there's a couple shots that he shouldn't have shot because they're really tough looks, but we want him to be aggressive. And that, as I've always said, Eric, is a byproduct of good elite scorers being aggressive. Is sometimes they're going to be a little too aggressive. They're going to shoot a shot that's a bad shot or not an easy shot, but you got to accept that as a byproduct of that guy being aggressive. So, okay, he shot a couple bad shots. He didn't shoot the ball well. He was aggressive, though, and he didn't shoot a ton of bad shots, so I am completely fine with it. He had a bad shooting night. He was aggressive. That's fine. That's what we want to see from him, right? The defense is a major, major issue, and it kind of sucks because he had been making progress, I feel like, up until this game. And maybe this is just the type of team that will expose his flaws defensively. They're really good, as I've said multiple times on the stream. But yeah, he had a clutch steal late, which was cool. Trailing the play, he can come up with a defensive play here or there that stands out. But man, this was a game where he gave up so much defensively when the rest of his team, I thought, was playing really good defense, which is just unfortunate, and he has to be better there.
Yeah, I wish I could say, he didn't shoot the ball well, but at least he was crashing the boards hard, and 2 huge possessions he had on offense were with those 2 putbacks, and like you mentioned, should have been, or could have been a third if they didn't call that foul on Anthony. But yeah, it's too bad that we're talking about this, and he's still young, so I'm hoping it's just like that inexperience and stuff. But I don't know, falling asleep in a key possession that late in the game, that's that's like when people question his like mindset and his makeup, like if he just doesn't have that that it factor, that drive, like that's what they're gonna point to. So it's tough, man. But yeah, hopefully he doesn't ever fall asleep again. Maybe this is like the wake up thing he needs to like realize that you can't play like that. And
but maybe he truly thinks it's somebody else's fault. His reaction to that.
It sure looked
so
like
I didn't see Chauncey's reaction to him, because right after that play happened, he started acting like that, and I was like, weren't you just guarding him in the other corner? Like, how's that somebody else? So I immediately rewound the play and then watched it back and was like, dude, what the hell? What the hell is that? So I did not see Chauncey's reaction to that, to him.
I didn't see it either, yeah.
If anybody saw it, let me know. But like, that's something where as a coach of a young, rebuilding, developing team, you yell at a dude for that. I don't care if it's the NBA. You make a mistake that bad, you get your ass chewed out, especially if that's what Chauncey Billups is supposed to be as a coach, put an address on it. He wants his own players to like hold each other accountable and get on each other for stuff, right? Like, that's something where you got to, like, I don't know if that helps Sharpe. I don't know if that's what gets through to Sharpe, but Scoot has said Sharpe plays better when he's pissed off. You should chew that dude out, man, for that defensive mistake. That was one of the two worst defensive mistakes of the season, outside of like the Blazers being up 3 and DeAndre Ayton just completely leaving Royce O'Neal wide open for 3 for no reason. And that was a crunch time 3 to tie it at the end of the game. Like, that's when you really got to lock in. That's when you really got to lock in defensively. And his job wasn't even hard. It was just like, you're guarding Max Strus in the corner. Don't let him get open.
Yeah.
You got dudes on the ball. Here's the thing. You got guys on the ball that can be competitive in a lot of possessions, don't need help.
No.
So why are you so focused on that? You should be focused on your own guy. Yeah.
You know what I'd do, Tori? They're hopping on a plane here in a few minutes to Philly, right?
Yeah.
Tomorrow night.
Yeah.
I would, on all the TVs on the plane, I would put that play on loop the whole flight. Just make him sit there and have that in the background.
Players might
flight,
revolt.
Right?
This might be why you're not an NBA coach. But...
I know, just saying.
I mean, that's something where you got, like, all these defensive possessions, you got to go into the film room and be like, what happened here?
Mm-hmm.
What, you show that play. What happened here? Explain what happened here. And he explains it. And you want him to own up to it, like, I messed up. I effed up. Like, okay, cool. You can't do that, right? Hold it accountable. But also, it's like, hold yourself accountable. You can't do this, man. So I'd go through, like, all these defensive plays, even the ones where he just got drove straight line to the rim by, like, Ty Jerome in the third quarter, and be like, what happened here? Oh, he drove against me and got a layup. Like, all right, man, you got to be a little bit more competitive. You're 6'5", you're athletic, you got super long wingspan, right? It should not be this easy. Even though Ty Jerome is good, like I say, he's one of the most underrated players in the league. Should not be this easy against you, right? So that's what you do. That's what you do with some of those defensive possessions, especially ones he fell asleep on. Like, you've been guarding DeAndre Hunter, you left him wide open for 3. Right, you've been guarding DeAndre Hunter. All right, so transition play. He's wide open down the side of the court. You're over here doing Lord knows what. All right, what happened? Like, what was going through your head? That's how you hold it accountable. There needs to be a film session after this type of game, because this was, it was rough for him.
The reason why I said the plane thing was, I mean, you have mentioned several times that like benching him doesn't seem to work. Like, so I'm just thinking of ways like what's going to get better. But what's going to get through to him for, like, completely through to him? So, I don't know. Like, I mean, would he even care? I don't know. Like, I don't know how to get through to guys who don't necessarily want to do it, I don't know.
I mean, but
Hopefully.
maybe he does. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the problem is there. It might just be he struggles locking in. He struggles with his awareness, right? Like, I don't know. Like, it's something where if he doesn't really if he's not truly competitive and like doesn't really care about winning games, his teammates and his coaching staff are going to notice that. Maybe they already have. Maybe that is the case. I hope it isn't. I think it could be as simple as he has a defensive awareness issues where he completely zones out. I don't know how you fix that. And I don't think that's necessarily due to a lack of caring. I think that's kind of a mental block that hopefully he can work through.
Yeah. Well, like that play though, like I was like, okay, well maybe he thought he was the help guy, but there's another Blazer like right next to him. So like he's got to recognize that he's not, like there's another player in a position and you're guarding Strus, like he's going to shoot the ball.
I mean, even if you're the help guy, you got to keep track of him. And if somebody cuts baseline and you're helping from two guys over on the wing, your responsibility flips over to the guy that's cutting to the other side of the floor, where you're still kind of in help side position, but now you're rotating back out to him. And it clearly was not like help side. It was him just staring at the ball. You know what he thought they were going to do? Because it was at the end of the game. You know what I think he thought was 1-4 flat.
Yeah.
He's just going to ISO. They're going to run like pick and roll, so I just need to sit here in the corner and guard the guy that's like out of the play. I think that's what he thought.
Yeah. But see man and ball, right?
Yep.
You gotta recognize it.
So anyway, chat, let me know what your thoughts are on our breakdown of Sharpe's defense. Let us know what you thought of his defense. Because, yeah, I mean, like, listen, he made 2 hustle putbacks to keep us in here in this game, but it's like some of the defensive stuff. It's why I thought people were silly when they said, like, oh, see, he's a more natural fit at the shooting guard position next to Dame because he's bigger, and people were just assuming he's going to be a better defender. Like, Anthony Simons was noticeably better defensively than Sharpe in this game, and there was a couple times where Anthony Simons made some really bad mistakes, and there was a time where Ty Jerome walked Anthony Simons down to the rim too. But, you know, like, if Anthony Simons is guarding Strus there, I don't really think Anthony Simons completely falls asleep like that. I think Ant's struggles are more so due to his physical limitations as much as anything, and maybe trying not to foul where he just shies away from being physical defensively so guys can take him to the rim. I think that's Simons' issue more than anything. I think Sharpe's issue, he's more physically talented than Simons defensively, but his issue is all on the mental side of things. So the funny thing is you can be bad defensively in different ways for completely different reasons as a guard.
Yeah, because that one play you talked about with Ty Jerome, Simons stays in front of him the whole time. He just shoots over the top of him. But
yeah,
it's not like he got beat off the dribble or something. Like, Simons does a pretty good job of keeping guys in front of him, but he just doesn't have the strength or the length to contest those shots.
And listen, it was the perfect tanking game, right, Eric?
Dude,
I mean, we're not tanking. The tank is dead. But, like,
no, I know.
This was a good loss. You were very competitive. You played well, and you also had a lot of crunch time minutes for young players and a lot of teachable moments for them as well.
But that's only because people were out. Jeremy and Ayton are out, though, right?
Yeah. This was a great tanking game. Part of the reason was because those guys were out, because Sharpe probably doesn't play. Sharpe, here's how I'll explain this, all right? If Grant and Ayton were healthy, Sharpe doesn't get put in a position to mess up defensively with 20 seconds left. And you'll say, like, oh, well, wouldn't that be a good thing? Like, he's not in there to screw up defensively with 20 seconds left? If you're prioritizing his development, no, he needs to make mistakes and learn, right? I would love for him to play perfect defense. Unfortunately, he's far away from that, so he's going to make mistakes. But you put him in those situations so that when he inevitably makes those mistakes, because he's prone to them, it can be a learning experience. It can be something that he can hopefully grow from. There's going to be hopefully more growth from that than him just sitting on the bench watching Jeremy Grant make that mistake, because the next Blazer I would expect to maybe make that mistake is Jeremy Grant or DeAndre Ayton, right? So I want him in the game in that situation to either come through or to make those mistakes. Right? Either he comes through, great. All right, look, he's doing what he needs to defensively. Or, man, that's an inexcusable mistake, but one that you can grow from, one that you can learn from, one that you can turn into a positive. That's development for you. the development of young players is never just smooth sailing where they just become stars, unless I guess you have Luka Doncic. But even he got traded because of reasons that I don't understand. But you know what I mean? So I don't know. It's not a good mistake. It's a bad mistake. But it's also, like I've said with development, it's not smooth sailing, man. You're going to have rough patches. It's how do you respond to those rough patches. It's about if you can grow from those mistakes that matters. And hopefully Sharpe can.
Yeah, and in terms of just like the tank and stuff, like being a good loss. So once again, totally whatever side of the fence you feel about tanking or losses or versus winning and all that kind of stuff, you're totally free to feel however you want. But I don't understand the people at this point who are now like, oh yeah, good loss for the lotto standings and like stuff like that, because it's like we're kind of past that point now. So like it's, for me, it was like, I might as well win this game, right? So
yeah,
like,
I was rooting for them to win.
We're kind of screwed anyway, and got super excited a few times, and it's been good because like if we win this game, we're having a much different conversation about how it might be possible now to make that play in or whatever. But like, I don't know, this one seemed to be like it won't really matter that much because we all expected them to lose in Cleveland, so like it doesn't really help the tank standings at all.
I mean, here's the thing with trying to make the play-in, though. You have an insanely tough schedule in March that is going to make it next to impossible to make the play-in. And if you want to make the play-in, you got to find a way to win this game, right? You got to find a way to win this game. This team is not ready to win these types of games consistently enough to actually be able to go on a run against a tough schedule in March to come close to the play-in. And that's why I've been saying, like, I don't think the play-in is realistic at all. At all. Because games like this, man, it just comes down to a play here or there, but it's like, are we shocked that the Cleveland found a way to win this game? No, that's what they do. That's the thing. The Blazers are taking some steps towards being able to win a game like this, but you're also talking about a team that Evan Mobley fouled out, Darius Garland played bad, credit to the Blazers defense, but they didn't have Donovan Mitchell. They did not have Donovan Mitchell. So, still a good loss if you're looking for like development, young players playing well. Deni had a great game. Toumani had himself a good game, right? There's a lot of good things in this game. Where if you're just talking about this team developing and this team, being in the rebuild that I still think they're in, man. I still think they're rebuilding. It's a good loss. But problem is when you raise expectations too high, it's like, all right, your expectations are a little too high for this team. They're not ready to make that final play to nail down this win. In the perfect example, and the reason why we talk so much about it, is like they're still young. Look at Sharpe completely lose Strus in a tie game with 20 seconds left and give up a wide open three. Look at some of the defensive lapses down the stretch from him in this game. And it's like, if he's a vet making those mistakes, I am criticizing him more harshly. If it's Jeremy Grant making those mistakes when he's being paid $32 million a year, I am roasting him on this postgame show. But it's Sharpe. It's about development. That's what the season is still about. That's why I'm not sitting here like, man, I'm so mad at Sharpe because, he gave up that shot. We could have won the game and we could have only been 3 back of the 10th seed. That doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is that Sharpe, long-term, doesn't make that mistake.
Mm-hmm. Well, you could make the argument, like you said, Donovan Mitchell wasn't playing and all that. But I think if they win this game with the way they played for a majority of it, aren't you kind of thinking maybe they could compete with some of these teams in this month and possibly you still kind of...
They shot better than they normally do. They played really well against a team without their best player and squeak out a win. Like, sure, yeah, but it's like, all right, cool. I would have said, yeah, really good win. Really good performance. Really good win. All right. you're going to have to win more of these games, so let's see what happens. Like, you're going to have to play like this consistently. That's the thing. They're going to have to play like this consistently. But it's like, man, you can't pull out this game. How can I expect you, or even if they barely won this game in overtime, how can I expect you to go on the road and win at Boston or win at OKC? You know? Even when they had that good 11-game stretch, they lost at home by 10 to OKC. And OKC didn't have Chet. There's just a different level of teams that in this league that the Blazers, I don't think, are capable of beating. Even if they're missing some guys. This was maybe one of their best played games of the year, and they still lost to a team without their best player. So you can look at it both sides of the coin. Really good loss. They played really well. But if you can't win this game, if you can't beat Denver on the road, they just, beat the Blazers by double digits twice. These are the best teams in the league, and you can't beat them on the road. All right? These are the best teams in the league, and you can't beat them. The schedule is super tough in March. It's just the reality of the situation. It's the reality I've been preaching. So the Blazers are now 5 games out of the 10th seed. They're 5 games out. The 10th seed is 3 games above 500. All right? 3 games above 500. So let's say the 10th seed at the end of the year, 4 games above 500. That would mean they're 43 and 39. The Blazers would have to go 16-5 the rest of the schedule to just tie for the 10th seed. 16-5. That is, in my opinion, impossible based on their remaining schedule. So it's like, yeah, sure, root for them to go 16-5 and maybe tie for the 10th seed. 16-5 might not even be good enough for them to get into the play-in, but sure, go ahead, root for it. But if that's really what matters at the end of the day, you're losing sight of reality, in my opinion, because it's so extremely unlikely. I think it's more likely the Blazers get Cooper Flagg and have Cooper Flagg on their team next year than they make the play-in right now, unfortunately. Right? Or fortunately. I don't know. Hopefully their lottery odds get a little bit better if they're going to lose some games.
Well, speaking of that, before you say anything else, you should read the donation because you just mentioned this.
Yeah. Josh Sargent, $5 donation, says, dream scenario, we draft Flagg. How good could we be next year? Who would we take minutes from to play him? Oh, you'd give him Grant's minutes. Maybe you DNP Grant if he's still on the roster. You give him Grant's minutes. You give him, like in this game, you take all of Banton's minutes, all of Jabari's minutes, all of Chris Murray's minutes. I said Chris Murray, Banton, Jabari. You give all those minutes to Flagg in a game like this.
Yeah. We need a third forward of the future, whether that's someone better than Toumani and Deni or, coming off the bench and those two stay starting. Depending on what happens with the guards, you could start the 3 forwards like you've been starting them, just with Flagg instead of Jeremy, like you said. But I think, if you have someone as good as Flagg, I think it's fine. Like, you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
like you'll figure it out. And like I said, you have 3 forward spots, plenty of minutes to go around with those 3. Then you basically are set at forward for a decade if you keep all those guys. So you don't have to worry about that. You'd have the oldest one, or both Toumani and Deni are 24 or 25. They're both 24, right? So, yeah. we're set for a long time. So, I don't think you worry about who starts in that scenario or whatever. I think obviously Flagg would probably be a starter, but I don't think you worry about that. But yeah, dream scenario. I mean, that's what we've all been dreaming about this year, or most of us, outside of maybe Cheem. But I mean, if we get Flagg, we're talking about rotations like we're a contender in the next couple of years versus, if we don't move up, we're talking about how do we get to there. So.
Cheem's lurking in chat too. He hasn't even said anything, but he's lurking. That's funny. I think if we got the number 1 pick, Cheem would come around to rooting for us to draft Flagg, to be honest. So,
maybe.
But Yeah. I mean, this team would be really good and it would instantly change the trajectory of this rebuild and the ambitions going into next season. Like, going into next season, it's let's make the playoffs. Like, you have your course set. You have your future star. Everything falls into place with Flag to the point where it's like, all right, let's just win as much as we can and play as well as we can and obviously continue to develop and get better. But, like, now it's like, let's start going for it. We have the next decade set in stone. You know what I mean? So every other piece on this roster, like Scooter Sharpe just has to be a number 2 then. One of them just has to be a number 3 or 4, like Deni, number 3 or 4. Toumani's your 5th best player. Like, all that sounds really good to me. The problem is you're just missing that guy. If you get Cooper Flag, you're set. The Blazers are absolutely set. He also fits their identity to a T in a perfect way. Like, I think Portland, out of, obviously if he ends up in San Antonio, that's a great situation. But, like, out of all the tanking teams, even though Portland's kind of worked their way out of that tier, Portland, I think, was the best situation for Flag. To, like, go there and be the guy, but have enough around him where it's not too much pressure on him, and also have a team that kind of fits him. Like, I thought, of course I'm biased, but I think Portland is really, really good for Cooper Flag, and Cooper Flag would be really, really good for Portland in a way that's, like, even better than some other teams. So, obviously, he's great for everyone.
Yeah, like Marv says, he fits any team, which I agree with. Yeah,
but this team even more perfectly. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I think it's a perfect fit, man. I think it's a perfect fit. But
I agree, just like getting Wemby, right?
Yeah, and that's why I've been frustrated with them winning some games. Now, with this tough schedule, like, we'll see where things go. San Antonio is only down 3 in the second quarter to OKC. They're without Wemby the rest of the year, unfortunately. But, we'll see if they can pick up a game. And you got Philadelphia without Embiid for the rest of the season. So you got, Chicago or Brooklyn going to get a play-in spot, right? We'll see if they actually compete for that play-in spot. You can still move up a little bit. We'll see. But let's get back to the game here. Thank you, Josh, for the donation. I want to talk about a play, Eric.
Okay.
I want to talk about that inbounds play in overtime with 30 seconds left. What the hell was that? Also, before you say anything, do you agree with having Uprise in there? I know he got offensive rebound on that possession, so that's why you have him. But, like, Scoot's on the bench and Uprise in the game when you need a bucket late game.
You're talking about the lob one, right?
Yeah, the one where they had, like, no options and then, like, tried to throw it over the top to Sharpe.
Right. See, it's tough because, Reith had that really nice cut down the middle and had a lay-in, and then the offensive rebound that you're talking about. I think I don't remember. Cleveland might have had a timeout, but maybe they thought they weren't going to call timeout if we scored or something. But it was just all decoy. I think we were trying to space the floor and throw it to Sharpe. I don't think it was supposed to be a lob. I think Sharpe was supposed to come more to the ball and have that side of the floor basically isolated for him. But
like, where were all the other options on that play, man?
Yeah, like,
you just got to sold out for him, which I thought was super silly.
Anthony's standing in the backcourt. They've done that a few times where they have him get a running start, but he doesn't even move.
Yeah.
Dewop's at, like, almost half court, I think, just standing there.
Yeah.
Denny's on the other side. He should have came to the ball, which would have forced his defender to have to come to that side of the court. Then there wouldn't have been anyone over the top. So if you get that lob high and far enough, Sharpe can go get it. Even if he doesn't have an initial shot, he'd still be close to the basket in a one-on-one situation. So to not have anyone move on that was kind of puzzling.
Yeah.
Someone's got to come to the ball to make the defense adjust to that instead of just standing there, because it just totally let Denny's guy be able to leave off him.
There were just zero good options on that entire play. Yeah. It was just a bad play design. Matt Cardell says, to be fair, what option do we have at center? If you're down 2 with 20, 30 seconds left and teams have timeouts that they're going to use, you don't have to have a traditional center in the game. You need to go get a bucket. So you don't need Duop Reith in the game, I guess, only for an offensive rebound. But in that situation, you should be drawing up a play where it's like, we're going to score. You should be drawing up a play to try and score. You should not be putting in personnel with the thought of, man, if this play doesn't work, like maybe this big dude can get an offensive rebound. Because Scoot can crash the board because offensive rebounds. Sharpe can. Sharpe got 2 putbacks at the end of regulation, right? Like, you don't need a traditional center in the game there. So I thought that didn't really make much sense to me. But, yeah. Kenneth says, what good team do you know has tanked and is now a great team, losing on purpose? Breeze losing S. Washington, Charlotte Bulls. OKC did, Minnesota did, Houston, Detroit, Orlando. Yeah, Eric just tossed five teams in there. Yeah, it's funny how they start winning and you forget that they tanked. But literally last year, everybody was saying, man, you got to keep Jeremy Grant on this team. You don't want to be like Detroit. Detroit looks really good right now. Detroit looks like a legitimate playoff team right now. Only a year later. So, yeah, come on.
Here's the other thing, though. Okay. Only one team wins the championship. And other teams are making good moves, too. Like, the Spurs get Wembanyama. They're not guaranteed to win a championship. Like, hopefully it's healthy enough. But, like, they've quietly not made the best moves the last, like, handful of years outside of that getting lucky and getting the first pick. And so my question is, how does a small market team like the Blazers become a championship team if they don't get a high draft pick or just like get super lucky on a later pick that turns into be a star like Giannis or something? Like,
I love how of his 3 examples too, he included the Bulls, who have never actually like set their sights on truly tanking ever. Like, they've been stuck in playing purgatory, as Cotter says. Yeah, exactly. They've been stuck. They haven't even tanked. So, yeah, I don't really understand that.
But it's not guaranteed to work. You might not work.
We got a lot to cover still with this game. I don't want to get too off track with, like, philosophical tanking debates that take up the whole stream, because we're going to miss stuff that we need to recap.
And that play that we're talking about, the out of bounds, I think that's when Sharpe gets the steal right afterwards. So we end up having a chance anyway. But I do not get what were we thinking? Like, how do you not have a second option? We almost got called for a 5-second call, which would have been brutal in that situation. Yeah. I forgot who it was. Who was it? Was it last night or the night before? There was a team that got a 5-second call with they had 2 timeouts still. You're
thinking about college ball. You're thinking of Alabama, Tennessee.
Tennessee yesterday. Yeah. So that almost happened to us with a timeout still. Yeah. I know you don't want to waste a timeout there, but like, man, that was such a crucial possession. You can't just have like Chauncey's out of bounds plays into games. So some of his
situational coaching down the stretch is bad.
Yeah.
And his lineup decisions are questionable. Like, 2 of my biggest critiques, man. And they both reared their head in this game. And people might look at this post game and think, like, man, they played really well against a team that's 50-10. Like, why even criticize anything? Here's the thing. The Cavs are 50-10. Part of the reason is because they come through in close game situations. And part of the reason why the Blazers are not ready to take that next step yet is because they struggle with a lot of kind of basic things, especially from a coaching standpoint, in some of these close games. So it played out in this game. This was a perfect example of a team which is where we want to try and be one day versus where we're at now. So that's why it's a very big point of conversation. Very big point of conversation. Let's talk about Deni. I mean, Deni was freaking phenomenal in this game. 30 points, 12 rebounds, 10 assists. Did have 5 turnovers. He tried to make that home run pass to Sharpe, underthrew it. I think if he throws a good pass there, Sharpe gets a lane. He had Garland on him. Deni just threw it a little too short. I don't fault him for making that pass. I don't think it was a bad decision. You just got to, if you're going to make that pass, you want to make sure that you get it on the money. But outside of that, man, I mean, he competed his ass off in this game, played 42 minutes, 30 points on 13 field goal attempts is crazy. 13 for 13 from the free throw line. I really wish he made that last three, man. That would have been a perfect way to cap off the night. But he looked gassed by the end of this game. And the thing is he'll never really show it because he'll just grind through it and still compete his ass off. And that's why I love Deni Avdija, one of my favorite players ever already. One of my favorite Blazers ever. And it's just because he goes out there, competes, tries to make the right play while also being aggressive with his own scoring. I mean, he was just going at Cleveland defenders, getting to the line all game long. Just putting the pressure on their defense, man. And this is something that was missing last year from the Blazers. Like, now you got Scoot can put some pressure on the defense. You got Sharpe can put some pressure on the defense. Deni does it as consistently as anyone, though, with the way he gets downhill. I mean, he had 30 points. He only attempted 3 threes. He only made one, And the way he got to the free throw line was some star-esque stuff. Some of the and ones he had was just super impressive, super special. Phenomenal game from him.
You know what I want to see? They, you know how they were kind of running the Deni pick and roll a lot down the stretch?
Yeah.
And Garland was switching on to Deni, and Anthony was switching on to like Mobley or whoever was in the game at the time. There was a couple plays I was like, why don't we clear out and post up Deni on Garland or something in those situations? I think that's a wrinkle they should look into. I don't have any faith that this coaching staff's going to be creative enough to do that, but
it's super simple. It's not even creative. You run Deni as the screener, they switch. You have Ant swing the ball to the ring while Deni rolls with the guard on him, and then you have the angle for the entry pass into the post, and then Deni just goes right to the rim. And if they collapse, Deni just kicks it back out. You get an open three. It should be super simple, Eric.
Yeah.
It's not even complicated. It's not even creative. I don't even want to sit here and be like, man, if we were creative. No, if they did that, that's not even creative. That's just like basic common sense basketball. Mm-hmm. But they don't do it. Cleveland did it. Picked up a foul in an and one against Scoot when the Blazers were switching everything. 55. They were running 55, which is switch everyone. Even if you got a 6'3" Scoot Henderson and a 7-foot Evan Mobley, that's another thing, man. Like, Chauncey has to be better with not going to switching lineups when you end up with really bad mismatches on the Blazers' end, especially against a smart, well-coached team like Cleveland, which will punish those mismatches and take advantage of you if you switch your freaking 6'3" guard onto their 7-foot center who's having a breakout year this year and can really score.
Yep.
It's just another coaching thing in this game, man. I mean, that's the thing is like Chauncey has been doing a better job, but situationally, some X's and O's stuff, defensive schemes at times, like it's funny how a game like this against good teams just all of a sudden exposes it at all. And people want to say, oh, well, he doesn't have as good as a roster. That has nothing to do with deciding to switch a 6'3" guard onto a 7-footer or the type of inbounds play he drew up with 30 seconds left. That's why you can't just use that excuse for everything. So, but back to Deni, what were your thoughts beyond that?
Oh, man, he was awesome for most of this game. I mean, you can nitpick the turnovers. Man, that behind-the-back pass to Sharpe on the fast break was sweet. I thought he did a great job of attacking, and obviously you get a triple-double, 30-point triple-double. That's one of the best games of the season for a Blazer, and he was awesome.
This team is just clearly so much better with him on the floor. He clearly makes them better. Even on games where he's not scoring like this, he clearly makes this team better and more competent, more competitive, better defensively, better on the boards, right? The Blazers struggled at times to clean up the defensive glass in this game. He had 12 boards. The next Blazer was Sharpe, who had 6, so twice as many boards as anybody else on the team. So just he can do it all, man. He can do it all. And in a game like this, it's like I wouldn't have blamed him if they just put the ball in his hands more and just got out of the way. Like, if there's one guy to ISO in a game like this, it's Deni.
That's why I wanted him to do the post him up when he's got Garland switched on to him. That's why just like get him the ball in different situations so it's not always the same way to do it.
So, like, but I look at this box score, Eric. I look at this box score and something stands out to me. Okay? So, Deni, 13 for 13 from the free throw line. A lot of his volume came through getting fouled, getting to the line, right? But, like, a couple of those and ones, maybe 3 of them, I don't know. He had at least 2. Anthony Simon, 7 for 7 from the line. So, Deni, a little bit more volume on free throws. But if you look at their shooting, Deni, 8 for 13 from the field. Anthony, 8 for 23 from the field. Deni, 10 assists. Anthony, 2. Do you think this was something where maybe they should have had Ant playing a little bit more off the ball, or maybe it's just Ant getting all those shots off the ball? I don't know. It's just like, in a game like this, when I look at the box score, it's like, man, Deni probably should have taken a few more shots, and Anthony should have taken a few less.
Yeah, I definitely think there were times. I mean,
Ant shot some tough shots in this game.
Yeah,
man, where I would have rather just had Deni trying to get downhill and make something happen.
He once again was good in the clutch, though, so it's tough, like, because he's so good in those clutch situations.
And
Doesn't miss free throws.
Yeah, he made his free throws. He made that tough 3, but yeah, I just
that other mid-range shot that went in. I know. I'm just saying, like,
it's just like, who's your efficient offense in this game? Yeah. It's Deni. You know what I mean? Yeah. For himself and for other players.
Yeah, I don't see. This is ultimately what the, like, final step for Deni is. Like, can he be the one that does take over a game in the fourth quarter on plays like that? Like,
see, but, like, yeah, true. In this game, it was like every time he decided to try to, it seemed to work. Outside of a couple of possessions. Like, he's either getting to the line, making a shot, assisting to a teammate. In the half court, at least. Couple bad turnovers in the transition. But listen, if you're scoring 30 points and have 10 assists, you're going to have a few turnovers normally. Just because you're doing so much offensively. But it's just like, man, I don't know. Every time he decided to try and do something, it was good offense. Where Ant settled for some tough shots. Now, to his credit, a couple of them were with the shot clock going down, but it's like, man, I kind of just want Deni to get the ball there. If you're going to ISO someone, the Blazers got ISO happy in overtime through Anthony Simons, and it was like, dude, just run stuff through Deni. Just run stuff through Deni.
Yeah. He did smoke that layup at the end. Not that I'm blaming him or whatever. He had a hugely efficient game, but yeah, just, I don't know. Maybe... See, I'm sick of just, like, the one guy, either pick and roll or ISO situations. I'd like to see them run some cool sets, like, at the end of games to get someone a shot.
I don't agree with getting ISO heavy in overtime there. It's just like you're going up against a good defense. You're a little gassed, right? Sometimes it gets a little hard to move guys around and execute stuff. Like, I thought for the most part they moved the ball pretty well. But if you're just going to start isolating, like, it should have absolutely been through Deni.
Yeah.
And that's what I wonder is, like, are we set up for him to take that next step volume-wise, or is just like, okay, we're going to still run things through Ant, he's going to defer there even though Deni's had a great game?
Yeah. Yeah, I think, because I thought maybe they were trying to get him in the short roll, but they were auto-switching and not giving up that short roll and were content on switching someone else onto Anthony and living with that. So, yeah. I
just don't.
I don't know.
Like
maybe
that
they just
with a guy that's struggling to hit
shots.
But
that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't understand why our offense always devolves into that towards the end of games.
Yeah. And it's always with Ant or Grant. Like, you know what I mean? That's the problem. That's why we said move on. It's just seems like Chauncey's content with stuff settling towards those guys at the end of games, even if they're having really poor shooting games and don't have a rhythm. And I do not understand it. You know, I like that Ant got to the line 7 times. But it's like, even at the end of the game, Deni's played great, right? He's been efficient. He's gotten to the line a ton, even at the end of the game. Who do they give the ball to? It's Anthony Simons. No matter what. No matter what, it's Anthony Simons.
He almost always comes through, to be fair. I mean, it's one of, if not the...
but, like, give Deni a chance to come through in a game where he's played great. You know what I mean? It's like if we want Deni to take that step to stardom, all right, what do stars do? They get the ball in their hands at the end of games. In a game like this where he's playing great and Ant's struggling, yes, Ant got on the line. He came through and made 2 clutch free throws. Like, maybe Deni wouldn't have. I still kind of want to give Deni that opportunity on a night where he's playing great and we have hopes of him taking a step in the future towards being that type of guy. You got to start giving him those types of opportunities if you want that, in my opinion.
Yeah. But, I mean, Deni did throw that bad pass when he could have brought the ball up. And then he did, like I said, have one ISO possession where he drove.
I mean, we're just nitpicking.
I'm saying he did have a couple times with the ball at the end of the game.
Like turnovers? Are you just talking about his turnovers? Like,
no, the one he missed the lay-in where Allen kind of came over.
Yeah, but I mean, like last possession though. Like last second possession, It's always the same thing through Ant. Ant can come through in those situations. Deni, he'll have the ball in crunch time, but he'll never have the ball in a final possession. Even if he's been the best player.
Always comes through pretty much.
What's the season about? Development, right?
Yeah, but not for...
Give Deni an opportunity when he has a 30-point triple-double.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, yeah, that goes back to the problem of, like, okay, if Chauncey's the lame duck coach, yada, yada, yada. I don't know. Like, I don't know if I would have trusted Ant any more than Deni, given the games they were having. But that aside, Ant came through in that position. Like, if you had a coach that was going to come back next year, here's the thing. Stuff like this means that Chauncey should absolutely be gone next year, because if you are actually going to bring him back because this team has played a bit better this season, you should have decided earlier to the point where you could get Chauncey on board with coaching for the future. Because Chauncey, in a game like this, he's making the decision for the present. He's not making the decision for the future. If you want Deni to take that next step, especially when he's having a game like this, 30-point triple-double, you give him a last-second opportunity to test him, all right? To give him a rep of, all right, you're down 2, you got the ball in your hands, make something happen. He might have gotten in one. He might have smoked a layup. Like, I don't know. We haven't seen it. So,
I mean, he did get the ball at the end and missed a 3. He did get a shot.
But you notice how he got the ball because it was a broken play.
Yeah, but he still got a shot.
Still got a shot because it was a broken play. It's like, all right.
I find it hard to believe they'd be like, at the end of this game, be like, you know what? We're not going to give the ball to the person who always comes through. We're going to give the ball to Deni.
To the guy who's been coming through all game.
Yeah.
The guy who's the only reason why this game's even close. Well, not the only reason, but like without him, we'd be. Remember the 3 games we missed with him before that 11-game stretch? We got destroyed. Yeah. Like it's not like it's an insult to Ant or a bad decision to give the ball to Deni there.
Well, once again, Ant did come through, so I don't understand why.
Off a ticky-tack call, yeah.
Oh yeah, Struce totally flopped. He should have got a T for flopping on that play. And if
it's just like, do you not want to see Deni when he's having a great game, like being given that chance just to see if he can come through in that last second situation?
I would have loved to see him get the opportunity to do that on several of those plays towards the end of the game. I'm not going to nitpick who got it on one final possession.
Yeah, I mean, I just think the problem is in the future, most likely it's not going to be, oh, we're just going to give the ball to Ant and get out of the way in the future, like long term with this core. Mm-hmm. So that's why right now I want to see.
Deni was gassed too. But
I said it too. I think Deni was gassed. But listen, here's the thing. You're going to be gassed at the end of games. That's part of the experience is like, all right, you got to come through when you're gassed. Give them that opportunity. You know what I mean? Like, the only way you build somebody up as a clutch performer is giving them clutch opportunities. Now, he did miss a clutch 3 late. But, yeah, like, I just want to see them get the ball to him. The thing is, with the way he drives and the way he can pass, if you give the ball to him in the final seconds, he could have gotten Ant an open three. And Ant could have came through again. You know what I mean? So I just think long term, I would like to give some of these young guys opportunities late in the clutch. And you know what's funny is like Scoot had that game winner. I think, did Ant miss that game where Scoot had that game winner?
I think he might have.
Or was that one of the games where Bjorkgren just didn't play Ant in crunch time down the stretch? Because that was a Bjorkgren game, right?
Maybe, I don't remember.
So Scoot hits that game winner. Since then, he's been really, really good. Like, that does seem to have boosted him a little bit. You know what I mean? Whereas if you got Ant, you're always going to give the ball to Ant there. But, like, Scoot got a game winner. I mean, maybe it didn't have any effect on his improvement. Maybe he was going to improve anyway. But it's like, gets this game winner, good for his confidence, has been playing really good since then. It's like, that was a good opportunity for Scoot. So
yeah, I think Scoot's confidence is a much bigger issue than Deni right now. So I don't think that necessarily.
Yeah, you don't need to give the ball to Deni for confidence reasons. I would just like to give him a rep when he's playing really well.
I mean, he had plenty of reps in clutch.
I just mean in the final seconds.
I know.
It's different final seconds. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I would like to give him the rep. Final seconds, game on the line, have to come through in the last 10 seconds. Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay. Yep.
Sorry that takes away from Ant. But Ant came through, so good for him. Anyway, Toumani, 19 points, 5 rebounds, 4 steals, 2 assists, 7 for 11 from the field, 3 for 5 from 3 in 43 minutes, plus 10. Team high, plus 10. Been shooting the 3 ball really, really well. Defensively, Garland, it's always interesting to look at the opposing point guard because Toumani gets a lot of those matchups. And, of course, during the course of a game, you're going to get switch around, you're going to get cross-match, etc. So it's not just as simple as, like, Garland went 4 for 16. That's all Toumani right there. But, it's funny how a lot of these good point guards struggle against the Blazers, and I think Toumani is the main reason for that. We've seen it with Dame. We've seen it with Tyrese Halliburton. We saw it tonight with Darius Garland. With Donovan Mitchell out, Darius Garland 4 for 16, 13 points. Did have 7 assists, 2 turnovers, but, just could not get going offensively. Only 2 shots inside the arc for him. A dude that's been really, really good this year. Toumani, really, really good defensive game. Hitting the threes as well. Camara was shooting 37% from 3 going into this game. He's shooting a very confident 3 ball right now. He had that little bit of a slump in the middle of the season. If you remember, he started off the season very hot, started slumping a little bit. Lately, offensively, he's been phenomenal. In his last 7 games, he has 6 double-digit efforts. He has 4 games of 19 or more points. This is back-to-back games with 19 points. He was 6 for 11 against Brooklyn, 7 for 11 against Cleveland. And, did have 4 turnovers with his 2 assists. A good defensive team, and Toumani being given a little bit more passing, playmaking responsibility. I think it's going to take him a little bit of time to be able to effectively and cleanly make plays for others against elite defenses, just because he needs more reps in that area. But shooting the 3 ball, really, really good. I like that he's been more efficient inside the arc lately as well, too.
Yeah, he had that really nice drive. I forget if it was at the end of the 4th. I think it was in overtime where tied the game back up with a little shot in the lane off attacking a closeout. But yeah, man, when he's hitting some threes, the AJ 3 threes a game benchmark. It's cool when he does that. And man, his defense has been awesome. Had a couple of offensive fouls drawn again this game. One on a screen, he took a charge. Just really quickly, that charge he quickly got into position and out of the restricted area. That was impressive that he got there that quick. I don't know if it would have held up in a challenge or whatnot, because he was still kind of sliding a little bit. But when they're out of challenges, you might as well take advantage of those kind of things. So, just awesome defensive performance from him, and to contribute the way he's been contributing on offense as well. This guy's just been awesome lately.
Yep. Agreed. Really fun to watch him play. Really enjoy watching him play night in, night out, the way he competes. And he's truly a disruptor. Truly an all-defensive type of talent right now. And it's just funny to see like the impact he has on a game where, he scored 19 points in this one, but there's games where he has 10 points but has an insane impact. And it's truly special, man. So other than that, I don't really have anything else left to say on him. He does this night in, night out. We talk about it all the time, right? So you have...
Well, it's good that he's becoming consistent. He does it again, right? Every game, that's awesome.
It's like he had that stretch where teams were daring him to shoot, and it was really disconcerting. And he wasn't really making them pay. I'm glad that he's past that. I'm hoping he won't have another stretch of play where teams are daring him to shoot and he's not making them pay. I think with the way he's shooting right now, next game, teams are going to guard him at the three-point line. He's shooting well enough right now. He's established himself enough as a shooter where teams are going to respect his three-point ball right now. He had that slump earlier in the season where teams weren't really respecting it. So it's you can't get back to that. You can't allow teams to not have to guard you at the three-point line and then you don't make them pay. I do like that even when he was missing some of those shots, he still shot them confidently for the most part. There's a couple where he was hesitating. It didn't seem like he wanted to shoot an open three. Right now he's shooting a really confident three ball. I think for him it's just confidence, and his confidence is up right now. He has to keep his confidence up. Even if he goes on a stretch where he misses some shots, he has to keep his confidence up. You look at a guy like Scoot, who is shooting a very confident three ball. These two guys, watching their shooting this year has been really fun, man, because you can see how much more confident they are right now than they were at earlier points in the season, and especially last year as well. Toumani shot 33% from three last year. Both these guys up to 37%. That's a really, really good thing. And Toumani doesn't shoot threes off the dribble. Meanwhile, Scoot is knocking down shots off the dribble, man. It's funny because two of the biggest things I harped on with him becoming a more efficient player and a more pure scorer going into the season for Scoot was he needs to hit threes, pull up threes going left off the screen if teams go under, teams don't stick with him. And he needs to do a better job finishing with his left hand in the paint. And he had... I forget how far apart the plays were, but he had a couple of buckets there in this game where it was a nice reversed left-hand layup where last year he would have tried to shoot that backhand right-hand layup and probably missed it, right? Because it's a really tough angle. Scoot in this game showcased the left hand that he's gotten a lot better with this year, as well as hit a pull-up going left off the screen that looked very, very smooth. Very, very good. And then the catch and shoot lately has been better, right? So he's been able to function off the ball as well. This is a good game from Scoot. 1 turnover, 6 assists in 33 minutes where he's not playing with the ball in his hands all the time. He's playing off the ball quite a bit right now, given his archetype, right? He's playing off guys like Deni, playing off guys like Sharpe, playing off guys like Ant. But he's doing it effectively. And then when he's getting a chance to make plays against this defense, he's had a couple of high turnover games lately, but against this really good defense to have 6 assists and 1 turnover where you kind of have to pick your spots as a creator, and then to go 3 for 5 from 3, he's 5 for 12 from the field, which isn't necessarily the best, but it's like he still had an efficient night, a decently efficient night, 5 for 12, 3 for 5 from 3. His three-point shooting gives him a floor each game at this point is kind of how I feel about it. He shot 38% from 3 in February. He shot 44% in January.
And 60% in March.
He's shooting 60% in March. So, yeah, man. It's just really nice to go into a game and not stress about Scoot. Even if he misses a shot at this point, Eric, earlier in the year or last year, it's like if he missed a shot or two, it's like, oh man, it's just going to be one of those games from Scoot where he just literally can't make anything or do anything well at all. At this point, he goes into a game, misses a shot. It's like, okay, it's just one miss. It's like the same feeling with guys like Ant or guys like Deni, where it's like they miss a shot and it's like, oh, it's only a miss. It's only a miss. He'll be fine. But before I used to really start to worry, like, man, could these couple minutes be a sign that Scoot's about to have one of those, like, 2 for 12 games where he's a minus 20 in 18 minutes? Mm-hmm. And now it's just funny how it's like, he missed a shot. Oh, it's a miss. Like, I'm very confident in his next one, and he goes 3 for 5 from 3. So, beautiful.
Maybe we should only shoot threes.
Yeah. 3-point specialist. That's Henderson's archetype. I mean,
what if a lot of someday that's all, like, he shoots 10 threes a game and barely shoots 2-pointers, like a Sam Merrill? That'd be crazy.
This is crazy. Like, I don't even know how you rationalize where he's at right now, because it's like, I feel like if he was on a worse team, Eric, with how he's playing right now, he would have the ball in his hands a lot more and could be putting up like 18 a game with 8 or 9 assists and doing it like efficiently enough where it's like, oh, look, he's right on his way to stardom. But because he's on this Blazer team that has a lot of creation and not the best floor spacing and doesn't have the ball in his hands all the time, is only playing 26 minutes a game instead of like 33 or 34 like some other guards on worse teams would be right now in his position, where he would be the guy for the rebuild. Like, you know, it's good to see that he's still like functioning very well with that load, but also it just makes me wonder, like, man, if he had the ball in his hands a little bit more, if he was given more responsibility, would he be looking better? But also, at the same time, it's like good for him to learn how to play off of guys right now. Yeah. And it's actually probably better to, like, all right, you're dialing in your 3-point shot. Your 3-point shot's good. You're learning how to play off guys, and now that'll make it easier for you to develop all the off-the-dribble stuff, and you can, like, gradually get more of that responsibility. And at some point, hopefully, you'll get to the point where you'll be that guy. So how do you, like, rationalize the position he's in with his performance as far as, like, long-term development and potentially what he could be doing right now in other situations?
Still seems like a lot of teams haven't adjusted yet either. They still want to make him prove that he can shoot. So,
but is that like not respecting his 3-point shot, or is that like we don't want to let this dude beat us to the rim?
I think it's not respecting his 3-point shot yet, but
why would they not be respecting a dude shooting 37% from 3 this year?
Because
shooting like 40% since the new year.
Well, for one, like a team like Cleveland doesn't necessarily have, like, regular season, it's not like playoffs or something where they're going to have a completely locked in scouting report on, oh, wow, he's shooting so awesome the last couple months. I mean, they will follow trends and stuff, but I guarantee you a lot of teams don't believe that until they, like, see it longer than, you know, a season or whatever. Like, I think if you're going to pick your poison, you would much rather want him to shoot right now, right? Still, I mean, like, if you were just thinking it, like,
yeah, but like, yeah, if you pick your poison, yeah, I think some of his teams don't just want to let him get downhill and make plays. That's his strength, right? So he's doing a good job taking what the defense is giving to him. I think you start selling out on more of his threes. You just open up the drive for him. Right? And that's what we said about, like, why he needs to become a good enough 3-point shooter. Where if he's making threes, defenses will have to respect it. I think at this point, defenses should absolutely have to respect it.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think they are yet. So he's still doing the right thing by shooting the threes.
I don't think it's that black and white. You've
seen some teams come out on him more often, yes. But, like, tonight, I felt like they didn't know that he was a good shooter necessarily yet. I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, he's hit some contested catch and shoot shots where defenses are out on him.
He did hit that one bank 1-footer.
Yeah, I mean, that was just a prayer. But, like, it's also guys, you know, if the ball gets swung to him, he's super quick. Teams know that, so defenders, knowing that, are going to be a little flat-footed and maybe not close out all the way because they don't want to get to the rim. I don't think it's as simple as like, oh, even though he's shooting 37% from 3 on the season, oh, just the defense, they just do not respect it. I feel like that's a little simplistic where, you know, Eric, if you're playing a guy that's really quick and can shoot, but, like, if he's really quick, you're not going to want to completely close out on him because then he's just going to easily get you off the dribble.
Playing you 1-on-1.
Yeah, I mean, you don't respect my 3-point shot. But
No, I respect it. I just don't, like you said, I don't.
Exactly.
I'd much rather you miss the 3-point shot or beat me because you made 7 straight threes versus
Yeah.
driving on me. And
Exactly. I think that's what it is with Scoot right now. It's like not necessarily them not respecting the 3-point shot. It's they don't want to get beat off the dribble. So if you're dealing with a pick and roll and the way Scoot can turn the corner as quick as he can, like, and especially when he has lob targets with him, he's shown a propensity to throw a really good lob pass going downhill off the pick and roll. You just don't want to let him get downhill. So even though he's shooting the pull-up three well, it's like, all right, is it that or is it let him get downhill? And that's the thing right now that has me super encouraged about him is he's shooting such a good three ball that it's like teams kind of have to pick and they're still picking against defending the three ball, but it's not necessarily due to a lack of respect of his three ball. I think it's as much due to them respecting his ability to get downhill and make things happen.
But he's still not a great finisher. It's better than last year, so like I don't necessarily think they're scared of him driving because I've been making that point his entire career that once he starts hitting threes, that'll open up the game for him. I don't think it's there yet in terms of other teams' game plans, and he's doing an awesome job of making other teams pay for it.
I mean, you just said like they're not worried about him getting downhill, and they just don't respect his 3-point shot. Is what I am hearing.
Teams are not selling out to guard him yet, which is good that he's having his like Sharpe last game, like against the Nets, they were double teaming him like above the 3-point line often in the game. Like teams are adjusting to what he's doing. I do think teams are having to pick their poison with Sharpe with Scoot, but like I'm interested to see once they like start fully believing in him as a shooter, like how much that's going to open up his game. I think we're saying the same thing.
Well, yeah, I'm just not worried. Like, oh, they're not really worried about him driving, and they're not respecting his 3-point shot. I don't think it's like I don't think it's them like not respecting his 3-point shot as much as it is you don't want to let him get downhill. You can look at just like his rim finishing number. He's 58% at the rim. Like, yeah, that's not the best, but also a big part of it is it's not just the rim finishing number. It's when he gets downhill, he gets his bigs really easy, efficient buckets at the rim too. So far this year, right? Like, we've seen him really feed Ayton as well as anyone possibly can on the pick and roll with Ayton. We've seen him feed Clingan at times, right? Recently, I forget which game it was. Might have been last game, might have been the game before. There's a couple of buckets where Clingan got fed. So, you know, it's feeding the big, too. You don't want to let him get downhill with a big man, especially a 7'2" big man that can easily catch lobs, easily, finish.
We didn't really have a big most of this game.
Yeah, and like that's part of the problem too. But like, yeah, I don't think teams, logically to me, you have a dude that shot 32.5% his rookie year. All right, struggled, but like got better as the season went on, and then this year shooting 37%. Like, I don't know why you'd go in as a defense and be like, yeah, we're just gonna let him shoot that. Just because we don't believe it's real, you know what I mean? Like,
I'm not saying
you don't want to give up
him shoot. I'm just saying that they haven't sold out on him shooting threes.
Yeah, because then
a little bit of
because then he's just beating you off the draw. Yeah, so I think if he was not as quick or not as good beating guys off the dribble, you would see teams defending him a lot more tightly on the 3-point line. I think making more threes will get defenders out on him and make it easier for him to drive, but also his driving ability, especially as he progresses throughout his career, his ability to drive will get him more open 3-point shots because teams won't want to give up those drives. And so you're closing out on a quick guy, you're closing out a step shorter because you're worried about him using his quickness to beat your closeout. Whereas if you're going against somebody slower, you can close out all the way and you're not as worried about them beating you to the rim. And even if they do beat you to the rim, if they're not as quick, like the help defense can rotate in time and you can deal with it. Whereas if you have somebody quick that can really beat that closeout, you have to rotate quicker and he can pass and he throws good kick-out passes. Like, you're putting yourself in a tough position. So I think the 3-point shot is really, really fun to see right now. He's probably back up above 37% after this game. And ultimately, it's something that I have confidence in that he'll continue to hit. The shot looks really good. The pull-up going left looks so much better this year.
Yeah, it does.
Because he's going right into it. He's not like, you remember last year, he'd come off and then he'd kind of like stutter step to set up that shot. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And he would just slow him down and defenses could bother it and there was like no fluidity to it. that pull-up three he hit going left this game is like a perfect example to showcase the improvement there. He got right into it, went right up, was wide open.
Everything about his shot is more fluid, like just his form, his balance, like his confidence, like it just everything seems like it's so much better.
Yeah. That prayer that he hit, he kind of, I don't know, he's hit a couple of prayers in his career, right? He hit that half quarter this year. He hit that one last year. Who was that against where he turned around almost at half court and chucked it up at the shot clock buzzer and hit nothing but net? Do you remember what shot I'm talking about?
Yeah, I don't remember who it was against.
And then he hits that bank shot today. Lucky that he banked it, but I don't know. That's, 3 prayers so far in his career that he's had answered on, like, insanely difficult shots? Maybe he'll have a knack for those types of shots. I don't know. But that was, probably lucky, but also it's, like, tough position. That's the thing with some guys' shooting nights. And this can apply to Ant, this can apply to Sharpe, this can apply to literally anyone. You catch the ball on the perimeter with 3 on the shot clock and you miss a shot because you have to shoot a really difficult shot. Like, at the end of the day, yeah, that's a miss on your stat sheet. If you go 5 for 13, but you have 3 shots that are like almost impossible because you're catching a grenade with 3 seconds on the shot clock, like, that's not as bad of a shooting night. You had to shoot 3 crappy shots. If you shoot a heave from full court, it's like, yeah, that counts as a miss, but not all 5 and 13 shooting nights are equal, so to say, right? And that's some of the context I do try and bring into the post-game shows. Like, sometimes you got to shoot some really difficult, impossible shots due to situations, and you're not going to make as many of them, obviously, because they're difficult. So, but sometimes you'll hit them, and Scoot hits them for some reason. So,
yeah. Is that all the players you want to talk about tonight? Is anybody important?
Who do you want to talk about?
I don't think there's anyone else, is there? We talked about Donovan at the beginning.
Talked about Banton. Do you have any thoughts on Banton or Chris?
Nah, I mean, they're just... Yeah, Chris didn't have the best game offensively. He was all right defensively, but it's just not the greatest game for him.
That lay-in he missed was brutal, man. Did that get blocked and I didn't see it because it just slipped out of his hand?
He turned around and was like, he couldn't believe he missed that bad or something. Like, I don't know. But yeah.
Yeah. Against good teams like this with good benches, that's where it's like, yeah, see, this is why Chris and Delano aren't playing every game. This is why they aren't necessarily viewed as part of the core, is because of just some of their shortcomings that in games like this really show up, Banton defensively. Also 3 turnovers, 1 assist in 17 minutes, pretty brutal there. And then Chris just can't play sped up. And that's the problem against defenses like this, is he kind of gets a little sped up and struggles. And that layup, I think, was an example of him just trying to go with a ball he maybe didn't have full control of. I don't really know what happened there, but... yeah, rough game from them.
Yeah.
All right. You want to Tankathon?
Let's get caught up on some messages real quick.
Christopher Aquino, member for 2 months, says, yes, member message. Thank you, Nathan, sir. Yeah, Nathan gifted the membership, so that's why you got a member message. Thank you, Christopher. And then do you want to read the dono?
Yeah, and then Christopher Aquino with a $2 donation that says, sup, fellas, good game for the tank, #Tank City.
Segue into Tankathon. Thank you for the donation. Alrighty.
Love Christopher. He obviously missed our conversation earlier.
Which conversation?
About how the losses for the tank don't necessarily matter.
Yeah. Man. Let's pull this thing up. Let's take a look at this picture, all right, real quick. All right, so Portland's back in 10th. They are half a game away from 9th. Is it sad that, are we at the point where we'd just be happy having 9th best odds? Is that where you're at?
Happy? I don't know. I don't know if I'm happy, but...
given where we're at right now, man, because do you think we can catch Chicago? Do you think... I mean, we're 5 games behind Philadelphia. If we win tomorrow, we have no chance at 7th. If we lose, we have a small chance. Maybe. Probably not. But Chicago's 3 games away.
We only have 21 games left? 5 games in 21? That's
pretty... I mean, our schedule is really tough, though. So, if that schedule cooks us, I don't know.
I know Philly beat Golden State last night, but I mean Grimes and
45 or whatever.
Grimes went crazy. Yeah. Oubre had 3 straight threes or 3-point plays, and I don't know.
This is what it's like to be stuck in the middle. We're not close enough to even seriously challenge for the 10th seed, but we are not. We have no dreams of even 7th best odds at this point for the most part. So it's tough. Right now, the Blazers would have a 3% chance at Cooper Flag. Of course, Atlanta moved up from 10 last year. What are the odds of 10th getting it the 2nd straight year? You know what I mean? I mean, it's still 3%, right? But it's just yeah, everybody's like, oh, look at Atlanta last year. That's why we shouldn't be too upset. It's a 3% chance. It's a 3% chance. Very minuscule. Very, very minuscule. 14% chance of the top 4 overall pick. The worst teams have 14% chance at Cooper Flag in general. So... that dream is dead to me, Eric. Lottery day, I'm not even going to go in nervous at all. I'm not even going to go in with any hope if we're 10th or 11th. I'm just going to be yeah, that's what we got. I'm just going to accept it beforehand, if that makes sense.
Dread of hope, but not yeah.
I'm just going to accept it beforehand. Yeah, yeah. All right, let's simulate it. Let's scroll up. Let's see our 10th pick. Maybe our 11th pick if Atlanta to San Antonio moves up. 14 is Dallas. 13 is Utah via Minnesota. 12th is Houston via Phoenix. Look at Sacramento, man. They're in, 8th? Minnesota's now 10th. Crazy. 11th is San Antonio via Atlanta. 10th is Chicago moving down 2 spots. This is why I'm going to accept it early. All right? So you got Portland and San Antonio in the top 4, Eric.
Yeah.
Wow. 9th is Brooklyn, moving down 3 spots. So you also got Philadelphia. San Antonio, Portland. 3 good teams in the top 4. Dare I say it. 8 is New Orleans moving down 4 spots. Wow, this is a crazy... sim. So what? That's Toronto, who's had good moments this year. All the ethical tankers. Although I don't know how ethical Philly is. 7 is Utah. 6 is Charlotte. 5 is Washington. 4 is the San Antonio Spurs. 3 is the Toronto Raptors. 2 is... the Philadelphia 76ers.
Let's go.
And the Portland Trailblazers get Cooper Flag. 3% chance, more like 300. Nice.
Ethical tanking.
Yeah, we competed so hard against Cleveland. We ethically lost this game. In overtime. If I could just ask for one thing in my sports fandom that's not a championship, it's this. Please. Please. Oh, man. Anyway, I'm just going to bask in the glory of this. And
yeah, keep it up there.
Yeah.
So who are we drafting?
Yeah, who are we drafting, Cheem? Who did Cheem have at number 1?
Did he have VJ?
Was it VJ? We drafted VJ number 1?
What if we did that in real life? Drafted a guard instead of...
Cronin would never... you know what I mean? Cronin would be too scared to do that. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
Right.
Thank goodness. Oh, man. So what? You got Cooper Flag in Portland. You got Philadelphia. I mean, they got McCain and Maxey. So what does Philadelphia do?
That might be a Ace Bailey team. I don't know.
Yeah, Ace Bailey, sure.
I mean, he'd be good if they're healthy.
You sure? I don't know. His floor. What is his floor to you, Eric? I'm curious. Like, because we always talk about ceiling with prospects, but I'm curious what your answer is because I've been wondering myself.
I think he's a decent enough defender and tough shot maker / shooter to. I don't know. Jabari Smith is like the absolute worst floor, I think.
I think his floor is a little below that.
Yeah, I don't know.
His floor is like, all right, he's not a good free throw shooter. He's like 36% from three. His floor is like, oh, yeah, at the NBA level, he's actually not that good of a three-point shooter. He's like 34%, 35%. His shot's a little flat, so maybe he might struggle to adjust to the line. Team defense, he really struggles. And then, like, turnover machine, can't make plays for others, like, shoots a lot of mid-range shots and makes some of them, but, you know, they're tough mid-range shots, so he's just, like, inefficient. More turnovers than assists, like, doesn't help out defensively. I mean, how bad of a player is that? Because I think that's what his floor is. Ultimate floor. Ultimate ceiling is, like, probably top 10 player in the league, right? So, you know, obviously he's going to end up probably somewhere in the middle there, but his floor is closer to Jabari Walker than Jabari Smith Jr. I think. His floor is not that.
Floor?
Yeah.
Come on, man.
I mean, I think it's in between Jabari Walker and Jabari Smith somewhere. I think his floor is like he's a bench scorer. Worst case scenario? Absolutely. Absolutely. There's been other very highly hyped up top 5 picks that have floors where they're not even starting caliber. So I don't think it's crazy to say that's his floor, right? Like, look at Josh Jackson. Different players, but like Josh Jackson had a ton of hype coming into the league. Was I think the number 1 prospect in his class and was never even starting caliber, never even close. So in his class, he was very hyped up in high school. Like he was at least Ace Bailey level of hype when he went to Kansas. So I don't know. Does it seem like there's less top 5 busts like that nowadays?
I don't think there's less necessarily because we just had a draft where there was no consensus top 5 picks really. Like,
yeah, but it's too early. But like you look at the Scoot, Brandon Miller, Wemby, Thompson twins. Like none of those guys look like they're that level of bust at all. Like I think Scoot's better this year than like Josh Jackson ever was.
Yeah, but
or like Marvin Bagley ever was.
That top 5 might go down as the best top 5 ever, if not like top 3 ever, top 5. So yeah, that's a good example. But
true. But like, what was the class? We're gonna go through draft classes again. Now this time we are looking at the top 5. Yeah, just real quick.
Yeah.
Like you know, because like Dragon Bender, right? But let's go. So Scoot was 2023 class. 2022, you have Banchero, Chet Holmgren, Jabari Smith, Keegan Murray, Jaden Ivey. I mean, I don't think any of those guys are like Dragon Bender or Josh Jackson level busts.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Keegan Murray is. Who'd you rather have, Keegan Murray or Jabari Smith right now? Like, who would you rank last out of those guys? Or because I wouldn't do Jaden Ivey. He was having a good year this year.
Yeah.
Probably Keegan.
They're both good defensively. Both have struggled shooting. Keegan has the 1 year that Jabari Smith doesn't, so I'd say that Keegan's slightly above him, I guess. But
yeah, but even like 6, 7, 8, 9, Mathurin, Sharpe, Dyson Daniels, Sohan, like all those are good role players at the very least. Starting caliber guys. The year before that, you had Cade, Evan Mobley, Scotty Barnes have all made All-Star games before. Jalen Suggs, good starting caliber guy, and Jalen Green, good starting caliber guy, even though he has his flaws. So there's really nobody in that top 5, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then 2020 is 2020, you had James Wiseman, Patrick Williams, and Isaac Okoro in the top 5. So, I mean, that draft, I guess.
Yeah.
But James Wiseman was injuries, though. It wasn't because he was necessarily trash. He was just injured.
It might matter, though, who's in the draft more than just, I don't know if it's draft class might matter more than.
True. Definitely.
Who,
Definitely.
Just being scouted better.
Yeah. 2019, you had Jarrett Culver. He would fit into that tier, but he was 6th, right? But, top 5 was Zion, John Morant, RJ Barrett, DeAndre Hunter, who dropped 32 on us, and Darius Garland. The year before that was when you had Ayton and Bagley. So, but then you had Doncic, Jaren Jackson, Jr., Trae Young. I do feel like because the league places so much more emphasis on skill, it's a lot easier to draft somebody who doesn't completely bust out of the league in the top 5. Because you're drafting guys that have a certain baseline level of skill that will at least keep them in the league as a role player. If you're drafting that skill top 5.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, it's interesting. Anyway, anything else for this postgame?
No, thanks everyone for watching. Got another game tomorrow as well as Blazers Uprise live.
Oh man, yeah.
So two streams tomorrow.
We are
no rest for the weary.
No rest at all. Yeah, at Philadelphia, at Boston, at OKC this week. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Monday, Wednesday, 4 p.m. tip-off times. Friday, 5 p.m. tip-off time. So Blazers Uprise live will go live 3:40 tomorrow, probably. 3:30 to 3:40 sometime there to pick games. And then the Blazers finally come home and finally have a lot later games than this, man. They play Detroit, Golden State, New York, Toronto, Washington. So it's going to be interesting to see before those Toronto and Washington games, right? You got Philly, Boston, OKC, Detroit, Golden State, New York. How many of those games can we win? The Blazers lost today, but they were extremely competitive against the Cavs. Really good.
They'll probably win this game at home if it plays out.
Yeah, maybe. I'm going to the Cavs game at home, so when they come home, so that'll be fun. But yeah, we'll see how the Blazers can follow this up. We'll see if Jeremy Grant plays sometime soon. Maybe they shut him down for the rest of the year. I don't know. But yeah, it's Sharpe has to get better with his defense, man. He was showing some flashes of improvement. Today was rough from him. Deni, 30-point triple-double, 30 points, 12 boards, 10 assists, 8 for 13 from the field, 13 for 13 from the line. You had Scoot, 15 and 6 off the bench, 5 for 12 shooting. You had Toumani, 19 points, 4 steals, 7 for 11 shooting from him. Some good performances from the young guys. And we got closer to the lineup we've been, or at least I've been begging for, Eric, which is the Scoot, Sharpe, Camara, Avdija, Clingan lineup. Because the Blazers started 4 of those 5. They started Simons instead of Scoot. So we're getting closer. We're getting closer to starting our core. But, what?
I said finally.
Finally. But, we'll see. Ayton has a reevaluation date in about 10 days. Grant, I don't know. The Blazers are 5 games out of the 10th seed. It's looking very bleak for that. So now it's just all eyes on the tank race. San Antonio's only down 4 with 3 minutes left in the third quarter against OKC. That game's on ESPN. Toronto's up 4 against Orlando. The Blazers aren't going to be able to catch the Raptors, but they're up 4 with 50 seconds left. And you got New York and Miami a 2-point game in overtime with 23 seconds left right now. So some good basketball across the NBA. And then conference tournaments start soon, so college basketball is going to be big time here. It's March, so there's a lot of really good college basketball games yesterday. So now's the time to start your scouting if you want to, because you're running out of time, and March is the best time to scout. You got a ton of basketball coming up, so looking forward to it. Shout out to BetUS for sponsoring the post-game show. We'll be streaming live twice, like Eric said, tomorrow, so tune in for that. Second channel at 3:40, link in description, and then the post-game show after the Blazers take on the Sixers. We'll see if they can bounce back on the second night of the back-to-back and get a win. Anyway, we're out of here. We will catch you tomorrow. Until then, as always, peace out. Go Blazers!